Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
It's a bunch of buildings, right?
Yep, it's the one that's been blown out. So let me describe
Yeah.
the photo for the listener. It's almost it's quite monochromatic. So the sky is all white. It's blown out.
Yeah.
It's like there's no
Yeah.
blue or anything.
Yeah.
The rest of the image has been I don't know if the colors have been muted through Photoshop or whatever, but all the colors are quite toned down.
Yeah.
There's massive destruction, like
Mm-hmm.
buildings blown up, rubble everywhere. There's one kind of building in the right. It looks almost like a store, or it could have been a church, probably a store. It looks like a kind of
Mm-hmm.
commercial sort of space.
Mm-hmm.
The road has been destroyed. There's a car that's been shattered. I mean, it's all rusted. It's yeah, it looks like a pretty old photo. Old, not old photo. I mean, it looks like the area has been abandoned for a long time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty intense image.
Yeah.
Clearly, war ravaged place. So
Yeah.
what's this about?
That's a picture of Grbavica, and Grbavica is an area of Sarajevo, and my aunt had a situation where her husband had a gun pointed to his head during the course of the war. He was
Okay.
lined up. He was supposed to get killed.
Oh
He
wow.
managed to not get killed, but can you imagine that kind of
Sure.
experience? And sorry, Grbavica is the site of many massacres,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the site of just a lot of shootings, because Serbs wanted to take over the area. So they were willing to
Mm-hmm.
do whatever they had to kill the citizens. Like, you could literally go into a building in Grbavica and like walk down the stairs, and there would be like blood up to your knees. Like, it was that, scary. And I wanted to
Wow.
put that picture because sometimes people, they're like, oh, it's no big deal, yeah, we lived through it. No, I mean, I really think like it should be raw, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like raw, like
Mm-hmm.
on display, everything. And I think that picture captures some degree of it. Obviously it's not gonna do all of the horror, it's not gonna do justice enough, but yeah, you can feel it's like kind of like soulless, you know what I mean, it's vacant. So
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing that there's barely any sign of life because it's a photo in
yeah.
the winter. So already, if
Yeah.
there were any grasses or shrubs, all you can see
Mm-hmm.
now is basically like
Yeah.
dry. Everything's dry, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no people. It's quite. I can imagine walking around there and it being
Mm.
hollow and quite eerie in terms of yeah, like yeah. So it's almost 30 years ago
Yeah.
ish. It's about 30 years ago. And so time dilutes people's memories, I guess. And so obviously, this is a kind of a trauma to your family and to yourself that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is obviously very present.
Yeah. Um, the thing about time, thank you for mentioning that, is time really doesn't help to heal all that much, because if you are reminded of it, if you have family members who died, if you lost
Sure.
body parts, if your health has been affected, if you're, how would I put this? If you lack access to opportunities because of where you came from, if you have been mistreated, if you have been discriminated against in some way, shape, or form, yeah, it leaves a permanent scar on you. And there's definitely intergenerational trauma. And also, I do want to mention that peace does not end and does not begin with the last bullet that is shot. The last
Hmm.
bullet that is shot in a war zone does not indicate the end of the war. It
Sure.
just indicates the lack of the end of shooting
Sure.
for that moment in time. That is literally all it indicates, because if there is a continuation of political corruption, if there is hatred among ethnicities, if there are death threats,
Hmm.
um, that's not peace. Like I said, that's not peace. That is just on the surface. It looks like peace. I really want to emphasize that. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So moving from country to country away from the
Hmm.
conflict. So once
Hmm.
the hostilities are over, the immediate danger to your security or your family security or whatever uh, decreases, but the wounds are very much still fresh.
Well, no, because when we moved to different countries, we just acquired new wounds because
Okay.
of discrimination and hatred. Like my mom had a gun pointed to her head in Detroit. My father had, gangbangers and prostitutes and drug dealers around him because he was unable to get his rightful job. So
Okay.
when we speak about war, the thing is, like, when you're a refugee, you are at the bottom of the socioeconomic food chain.
Right.
Like, I don't know how to put that otherwise. And nobody really gives a damn about you, because when you're a refugee, you're at the bottom. You
Hmm.
don't know anybody. When you relocate to a country, it's not like people welcome you with open arms. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
They take out their hatred and hostilities onto you if they have any of that inside of them. And I want to talk about that, because people assume, oh, it's over. The conflict was that long ago. It's not over. No, it's
Mm.
not.
Yeah, you guys are still struggling to deal with that. I mean,
Yeah.
survival and
Oh, we've been surviving for like decades. So I want to just point that
but
out.
why Michigan? I mean, you were in Malaysia. At least how did your journey end up in Michigan, right? Because okay, so again, going back to the so look just for a second, like going back to the premise of the podcast, which is aspirational ultimately.
Hmm.
Like if life really is a gift, like maybe when your life is hit with so much trauma, it feels like a
Hmm.
curse.
Oh,
But
it does. Yeah, I talk about that in some of my books. Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah.
okay. So in a way, okay, it's fine. So so the podcast is perhaps a pie in the sky, like fairy tale. Life is a gift. How do we make every second count?
Mm-hmm.
But what can we salvage, or can the relationship to your life
Mm-hmm.
be optimistic and positive when you're ladled with so many servings of shit, right? Like,
Amazing. Thank you for saying that. Because it's spot on. So I would say creativity was probably my way out, because I saw a lot of negativity and darkness in
hmm
some of the people I met. And you know what, I'm just gonna be blunt about this. I think having that kind of attitude towards life and towards anybody who's not like you is idiotic. I
sure,
want to say that, because if you are flinging hatred at somebody, you're going down with that ship as well. You can't hold somebody down without holding a part of yourself down.
sure, sure.
Like all those negative vibes. And I always try to find the silver lining. I always try to find solutions. And basically, that's all because I'm creative. I
hmm
like to
hmm
research. I like to learn. I like to create. I like to share, celebrate. That's like my life, motto.
Well, okay, so that's fascinating. So you're okay as you're speaking. I have
Hmm.
this really stark photo of buildings blown out, like full
Yeah,
on
I know.
exploded.
Yeah, I
And no,
know.
I say to you, oh,
Mm,
the point of the podcast is to
mm,
aspirational, make every second count.
mm-hmm,
And then your response is
mm-hmm.
to say, on the one hand, well, life kind of can feel like a curse, yet your
Yeah,
outlet, and this is, well, maybe this is what's interesting, is that
yeah.
what is it about about us humans that
Mm-hmm.
your outlet is to be creative, right?
Uh,
Like that's
yeah.
actually quite interesting if you think about like
Thank you.
that your way of processing and
Mm-hmm.
dealing
Mm-hmm.
is to express yourself creatively to somehow bring it back down to size. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you dropped a big bomb. You said
Mm-hmm.
in one of my books, so that
Mm-hmm.
means you have several books. What?
Yeah, I published 80 books. I'm working on my 81st. I'm almost done with it, and I still have about over 20 to go. So I've written
Uh,
over 100 books. Yeah.
oh wait.
I'm I swear, I'm not even kidding. You can check it out on my website. I'm not even kidding. Yeah.
Okay, for the people who want to, who are feeling lazy and are procrastinators,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
look all of like 25. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but it's
Oh,
ridiculous.
shucks.
You
Thank
must
you.
be, yeah. So, and you have 80 books.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm working on my 81st, and I still have over 20 to publish. I just
Wow.
can't publish everything at once. Like, I have to do
Sure.
step by step, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And who needs to sleep? Who needs to sleep?
Exactly. Who needs that? Sleep is for the weak. Am I right? I'm
Well,
just kidding.
no, if you're an author who wants to
Mhm,
write, move to
mhm.
Michigan. That's what I'm learning from this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love to invent, you know. I love to
Hmm.
invent. I like to look up patents on Justia. It's a website. It's Justia. I'm the owner of a bunch of comic books in general. I mean, books that like aren't my books.
Hmm.
And I like drawing. I like sketching out ideas. I love Da Vinci. I love Michelangelo, Botticelli, like Rembrandt.
And your name is Ida.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I know, I know, I know. I've been told like I'm a Renaissance woman. Yeah.
That's
Um,
beautiful. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I like coloring books. I love to like my whole life. I like to color. Like I don't understand why some adults they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to destroy my brain. I'm going to, do like a lot of alcohol to the point where it's like severely, affecting them." I like I've walked into liquor stores and I've looked around like I haven't bought anything. I'm like, y'all need some coloring books up in this joint. You know what I mean? Coloring books. I'm like, this whole place needs a massive redesign. So
Sure,
yeah.
sure. Um,
Yeah.
okay. Well, okay, so since you said this whole place needs a massive redesign, and I'm looking at
Yeah.
this photo of images blown out completely,
Yeah.
let's move on to your next photograph and
Yes.
just change the scene. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.